Morning everybody, welcome back to the Braeden YouTube channel. Today we're going to put the K-Series in the car to do a test fit, so let's get started. So if you think what we've done up until now is redneck, this is going to take the cake. So in the last video, you saw that I kind of said we're kind of making the move back into Champ. So what I got to do is kind of get this area cleaned out and get my engine stand freed up here to put the D-Series on it. So what we need to do is take the unfinished transmission without a clutch and put it on the finished engine, I guess finished lung block, and get it in the car so it's kind of out of the way, so that basically I can clean up my bench here and have space for the D-Series to be sitting on it. So honestly, not too exciting of a video. I mean, it is kind of awesome because I've wanted to see the K-Series sitting in here for quite a while now, and it'll be cool to kind of see it in there, test fit it, get an idea for things. So the engine being in the car will give me a good footing, I guess, moving forward with like future projects like the wiring and stuff like that. So that means that there could be some things being done on the car meanwhile that, you know, don't require the clutch or, you know, the diff and stuff like that. So not all bad. Making the Champ back to the move back to Champ isn't exactly a bad thing. It'll kind of help me plan moving forward with this and maybe even help the project go a little faster. So getting this engine in the car is probably a good deal right now, even though it's not, you know, completely ready to be dropped in. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get the engine off the stand, get it mated up to the transmission haphazardly, and then get it dropped in the car and just get it hung there. And then we'll make the move back into Champ, or we'll bring the D-Series engines out here and start building them. But this will be the last big move video on this car for the next probably 5 weeks. So not a terribly long time for those of you that are here specifically for this, but it'll be a good deal doing it and moving forward. So let's go ahead and get the engine hoist out, get this thing down, and get it on the car. I did just remember one thing actually as we move forward here. For those of you that watched the VTC actuator and oil pump video, you know that I took a pan off of a 2011 SI, 06 to 11 I believe, K20Z3 anyway. And put it on here because it had the built-in stiffener and it had a larger oil capacity. So this will actually be a pretty good test to see if this pan will even work. I really hope so, because as you saw, it's like a 7-quart capacity the way it sits. So we'll be able to see if the stiffener lines up that transmission, which it should. But anyway, yeah, another good reason to do this now, as opposed to getting everything finished up, being able to put it in the car and then realizing this pan won't work or something. So good deal. Anyway, let's get to the time lapse. All right, so moving on, the transmission is now even more haphazardly bolted to other things. So again, this transmission has come back apart. I need a final drive and a differential and obviously a clutch. You saw me weasel it on there without the clutch in it. Again, this is just a test fit. But big news, this is the big, huge oil pan from the K20Z3. And this is a CRV transmission and a TSX engine. Those bolt holes line up perfectly. So this this oil pan eliminates the need for you to go buy a $560 aluminum stiffener from Acura. You can just go get this oil pan from Honda and pay like, I think it's like 225 bucks or something like that. 270 maybe. You can get this and it integrates that, and it looks to be even stronger, and you get more oil capacity out of it. So almost a no-brainer there. So I'm gonna finish getting it bolted up and we're gonna drop it in there. All right, doesn't seem like much, but this is kind of a semi-big moment for me. Pretty crazy that there's like 4 different cars that had to come together in this area right here and work. We got an 05 CRV transmission, an EP3 input shaft. We've got a TSX block and an 06 to 11 SI oil pan. And it all worked. Everything's bolted up. The stiffener bolts went in and tightened down. Now, we've got the billet mounts. The transmission one is sitting right there. It'll have to go on after the transmission's down in there. So what we'll do is we'll kind of finagle the trans down in. I've never put a K-series with these mounts in one of these cars, so I believe I can get it down in there okay if I bring it in kind of in front of that mount bracket. But it may interfere just a little bit, so I may have to like bring the engine in at like a real crazy steep angle and then bring it up from underneath. But either way, I know the trans has come up from underneath, so I'm not sure if we can lower it and level in front and then bring it back, or if we have to come in at a steep angle. So we'll just kind of cross that bridge when we come to it. Mounts like this are tough because they don't manipulate very easily. They're very stiff. These are the 88s for race, and they're pretty stiff. So anyway, you'll see in the time lapse, I may have to play around with that mount a little bit, that bracket, but should be just fine. So what we're gonna do now, get this puppy lowered in the car. It's been a long time. So let's see what it looks like in there. Of course, it has to come back out because there's still more work to be done, but I need it out of my way so I can do champ stuff. So let's get it in there and just kind of see what we come up with. I'm just gonna apologize in advance. You're probably gonna see my butt crack because I didn't wear a belt, my bad. All right, so you guys see me struggling fighting this engine, trying to weasel it in here. Whew, I'm out of breath. So what I found is that stiffener brace right there, those 2 bolts right there, I think it runs across and kind of stiffens the front subframe side to side. If you look, transmission the bracket bolts are hitting it. You know, not even close to set right there. So clearly that bracket's not allowed to be there and we need to get it out. So I'm gonna get that out and then we'll see if we can push it back in there. More problems in this area. Now, this isn't HASPORT's fault at all. I want to make that clear. This is just the byproduct of trying to put an engine this big in a car like this and trying to put so many different cars together. But there's a power steering line right there. I'm not sure which one it is. It's just a high pressure feed, but it goes across the rack. I really don't want to have to get rid of the brace bracket, but if I do, it is what it is. So anyway, we'll see what happens from here. Let's keep moving. All right, so a quick and dirty fix right now. The engine's up just a little too high at the moment, but that line will fit on top of the transmission without the bracket on there. So I'll just bend it up a little bit for now to give a little more clearance. So that's the quick and dirty fix right now. I'll work on a longer term fix later. And then I'll actually probably feed that back to HASPORT depending on how this thing fits. It may be okay once I get the transmission mount in. Not exactly sure yet, but we'll kind of cross that bridge when we come to it. So what we're gonna do now, get the transmission mount back in there, hang it from the sides, and then we'll work on the back. I gotta kill a horsefly. Well, that was a little bit chaotic. Fought a couple issues, nothing too terrible. I had to use a Honda bolt back here because the bolt they sent was meant to have that all-wheel drive brace bracket kind of sandwiched in there. And if you look down here, it is pretty snug. I didn't have to bend that line at all. It all fit, but there's not a whole lot of room around there. Hopefully these mounts don't move at all, because if they do, that'll touch. But I don't think these mounts have enough give in them to hit right there, which is good. So anyway, used a Honda bolt that was a little bit shorter for a different mount. None of these mounts are like fully tightened right now, but that was really the only issue I fought. Pretty pretty easy install on HASPORT's part. I actually didn't even really need the directions for anything. It all just kind of went together. So that was kind of nice. But yeah, there it is. Been waiting a long time for this moment to see a K-series hanging in this thing, and now what we get to do is close the hood and have it not shut. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. Almost guaranteed it's gonna hit either on the corner of the valve cover right there or on that rubber pipe that goes to the brake booster. Or it'll shut. Nice thing about having your cart 3/4 completed. Oh, snug as a bug in a rug right there. Still not all the way closed. Let's see if I can shut it. I need to open it. I suppose I should probably tighten that back down first, and then we'll try this. All right, so we got that tightened back down. And as you can see, we got some interference going on right there. Looks like that's the only spot. I could definitely reroute that somewhere else better. I would rather kind of leave it semi-factory, so I might just bend that down a little bit and call it good. But again, this intake manifold, I'm probably just gonna change with a center feed. The center feed has a throttle body right here. And what I'm debating doing, this has been tough, I'm out of breath. So what I've been debating doing is if the throttle's right here, you know, right at that spot right there, I've been debating having an intercooler pipe that comes down and across into a water to air that's mounted basically right here. I'm bleeding. And then the other option is to have an air to air out here that's double back door, which means it has a pipe coming in right here, it flows across, and then has a pipe coming out here that then goes up into it. So my options, again, that's kind of why putting this engine in the car is not necessarily a bad thing right now, just to kind of get it out of the way, because then I can play around with it a little more, get a better idea of how things are going to fit. I will say, one thing is, guys that ride low understand this, but I have this mount system set as low as it'll go, which it looks like the engine could potentially go up a little higher and be fine. But the oil pan clearance is not crazy big. I mean, you know, that's 4 inches maybe, which isn't terrible, but it's definitely hanging down in the danger zone. That is, might need a skid plate for that. Or just raise the engine up. But if I raise the engine up, I definitely am not going to be able to have that hose up there for sure, and I'll have to get a different intake manifold. But for now, we're going to leave it down and play around with stuff the way it is. But yeah, I'm going to bend that down for the time being, and then we'll just kind of go from there. But yeah, it looks pretty good. Check this out. Ugh. Okay, so now it's really interfering with that pipe, like it was pushing hard. So not good. There we go. I used to do engine movement testing, which means on factory OE vehicles, I would measure how much the engine kind of moved around to kind of figure out, you know, clearance of things. Like factory vehicle, this area may be an area of concern. With these mounts, it isn't. But one thing to keep in mind, the hood is sitting right here pushing on this. Well, when these engines are under torque during acceleration, they lean back. Well, this is the axis that it rolls on. So the top of the head cover will actually kind of go down and back. This will go up and back. So this will push even harder against the bottom of the hood, and that's not ideal. So we got to mitigate that. A different intake manifold will probably fix this. Again, like I said, the engine can probably go up to the second setting, but then this would be pushed against the hood even harder. So, you know, it would give me a little bit more ground clearance on the oil pan, but I got to do something about that first. So anyway, we'll kind of go from there. I have options. You know, I could take this out, tap it, put in a 90-degree elbow that, you know, is super low profile, and then get rid of this pipe altogether or bend it down, whatever. But I like it. I'd like to keep it. You know, I like the factory stuff. But for now, this is about as good as it gets until I start playing with things. So what I'm going to do is just kind of button this up, and then that'll be it. And then from there, we're gonna get the benches cleaned off and start bringing the D-Series stuff in. So amidst the Champ Car D-Series stuff, I will be working on this car. It's not just necessarily just gonna like evaporate into nothing, but I'm not gonna be putting any big hard parts on it for now. I might do a couple little things here and there, maybe play around with some wiring and whatnot, but yeah, I mean, this thing, it's not just going away, but it's gonna be on the back burner a little bit. So man, it's just kind of fun to look at. That is fun to think about. And soon we'll be fighting this bad boy in there. And it'll be sitting something. Oh boy. Fuel pressure regulator's gonna have to move. Oh wait, actually I have. That needs to come out. But anyway, turbo will be sitting something like that right there. So that'll be nice. It's too heavy to hold and admire. 25 pound unit there. Anyway, there it is. I knew in the last video that I said that this video was gonna be D-Series, but I just couldn't pull myself away just yet. So anyway, engine's in the car. We'll play around with stuff here and there, but the next couple of videos that you guys see will be the D-Series build for the Champ Car and Champ Car races. So again, we'll mix some of this in, but I appreciate the patience, guys. I know a lot of you are here for this. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.